calling from a Skype. This is a Skype call.
Hello?
Hello. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Liam. I'm calling from Norwich in the UK.
Hi, Liam. How are you? What's on your mind?
I'm good. I did have something to talk. I'm glad you're on, actually, because I had something to talk about Kashmir. But then something happened to me. Well, something happened to someone close to me recently with healthcare in the UK, and I thought that would be more appropriate.
Okay. What's going on?
Well, my girlfriend had gallstones a few months back, and she went to the NHS, as most people do, and they had to put her on a 6-month waiting list. So her parents decided to pay private. Private is incredibly extortionate here as well. It was about £5,000 for the operation and 120 for the consultation, which was just the same as the one on the NHS.
Sure.
Anyway, a few months
You're just paying
later,
for speed, right?
Pretty much, but the speed was not that much better. It still took at least 3 months.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Right. Anyway, fast forward to today. Discovered she has a hernia because of the operation. So she needs to go back. She's now moved to Swansea, which is on the other side of the UK in Wales, and she went to the health insurance hospital there, and they said, "Don't worry, because it's a complication. We will heal. We will do it for free."
Right.
So she was pretty confident about that. And then the next day, they sent her dad a bill for £250 for the consultation and £6,000 for the hospital fees for the actual operation. And then they said, "Oh, actually, we will only pay for it if you come back and do it in the same hospital in Norwich." And even then, they didn't say if they would pay for it entirely.
Right. And as far as dealing with the NHS wait lists, and this actually, I mean, it goes back to the Blair era. If you want to lower wait list times, you put more money into NHS. There's nothing complicated about this. And if you want to put money into NHS, you vote for Labour. That's it. I also just want to say, somebody IM'd with a correction, and this is true. So initially, well, what the Lib Dems, okay, this is complicated, so I'm glad you're on the line. They ruled out a temporary government with Corbyn in a vote of no confidence to form a several week government that would block a no deal Brexit, and Corbyn would be essentially in that prime ministerial role for a couple of months at most, and it would just be purely on blocking a no deal Brexit. They did vote later on for legislation that would block a no deal Brexit, which was the second thing that came into play, if I remember my timeline correctly. And now, going into elections, they are, of course, refusing to run on an anti-no-deal Brexit pact with Labour. I mean, makes more sense. I mean, look, they have a deal. Boris Johnson cut a deal with the EU. It's basically very similar to the Theresa May deal, as far as I understand.
It's virtually no different.
Virtually no different.
You can find Boris. There's videos of Boris criticizing the very thing, Theresa May's bills for the very same things which were in his deal as well.
Right.
And the Lib Dems are they're really not considered serious by any of the younger generation here. I mean, after them reneging on raising tuition fees, just all support for them has dropped. I remember even being on university campuses, and the actual societies for Lib Dems just disappeared. Just no one was interested in supporting them.
But there must be
them.
somebody. I mean, what is it going to take? We only have a minute, but I mean, do you have any sense of what it's going to take to reverse course here to get Labour in position to, at the very least, block a Tory majority? It's looking really bad. I mean, I hope the polls aren't, maybe the polls are also underreporting the support, but it just seems like the relentless political war against Labour and some of the myopia and focus has hurt them.
I honestly don't know. I thought that it might be somewhat similar to how Bernie's doing and how he's trying to attract people who won't vote. And basically it just needs to be a lot of campaigning in university towns and just the north of England, just areas where there are Labour strongholds, because the smears on Corbyn they're insane. I mean, one of my friends who works as an estate agent, he supports Corbyn himself, but his boss apparently went into a rant about it because he thinks Corbyn is a communist terrorist.
Oh my God.
And it's like the smears they're just everywhere and they're unbelievable. And it's honestly surprising how most places get away with it. And I think the only thing which will really change is just youth population voting, because that's the only way I think we're going to change sort of the Tory stronghold areas. And also I'd say maybe tactical voting with the SNP.
Yep, that sounds exactly right. Tactical voting with the SNP, which obviously is also a pretty progressive force as far as I understand. So, yeah, that's what one should do. And I really hope that you guys pull it out, because I mean, it's just amazing that anybody would volunteer for another cycle of Tory destruction.
I hope so too, but there's a lot of gammons who are just refusing to change their mind on Brexit.
Right.
Just before I go, there's just one more thing on healthcare I wanted to say. Because another one of my friends went private because of a waiting list, because he had to have some of his gut removed. And so when he went to the private doctor, it was the same doctor it was the same surgeon who would have treated him on the NHS. And because that was the case, they decided to bump him up, but it still cost him an extra £300.
Right. Private healthcare is bad, folks.
Private healthcare just can't exist. Like,
I agree.
Even with the NHS, it just cannot exist.
I agree. I totally agree.
I mean, their whole business model is killing people for money. So probably shouldn't let them stick around.
People should look into what's going on with the Australian healthcare situation, because they've tried to introduce more private options too. And after a couple of years, they're like, wait, this isn't working, because people get confused and nickel and dimed, and it doesn't work for them. And the private health insurance industry is like, we're trying our best. I think we like how the reforms have gone through.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more just free market mythology. Let's stay on the UK.